Give us some context on how many people are generally food insecure and how many more we expect. In other words, what's the increase here off of what base?
Absolutely. So according to the USDA statistics of 2019, food insecurity rates in the country were at about 37 million. We just got that was 2018. We just got the 2019 numbers, and it looks like they inched down to about 35 million people. Unfortunately, on top of that, we're looking at projections of as much as 50 million people being food insecure as a result of the pandemic. And about 20 million, almost 20 million will be kids. I mean, it's really devastating what's happening out there in terms of the food crisis right now.
From the very start, Claire, we saw disturbing images of long lines of vehicles and so on Twitter and passed around. And it's just unreal to see that kind of thing in the richest country in the world. It still is the richest country in the world here in the United States. What happens next? Where regionally do you see the most need?
So let me start by saying that we've seen an increase as of now of about 60% more demand than we had historically been seeing. So those long lines of people, we've tried our best to limit what those lines look like, but one of the things I think is so important is for people to understand that those people are still out there, they're still in need. And even if you don't see those images, it's because some of those lines are dispersed, but 50 million people, that's a lot of people who are struggling. We're seeing need across the United States. There are two pockets where it's inordinately impacting people, and one is in rural America, and the other would be in communities of color. There always been special challenges with both of those demographics, but those challenges are made even worse today with the pandemic.
We just heard yesterday from the organization that runs access to free clinics, Claire, that donations are way down, that the support that they typically rely on has really suffered. What are you seeing in terms of, especially from your big corporate supporters, what's the level of support like now?
Well, we've received a remarkable outpouring of support. In fact, one of the challenges that we've had, though, is we've had to actually go out and purchase foods because many of our traditional donations have been in the form of retail donations. And many, I'm sure that you've seen those images of empty shelves at grocery stores. Well, what they had in excess, they were donating into our network, and many times they don't have anything to share. So we've had to go out and make additional purchases. The good news is we've seen a remarkable outpouring of support from the American public, from corporations, new partners, other partners that we've had deep relationships with. The problem is that even with all of that, including the federal interventions that have happened, which have been bipartisan in nature, even with all of those interventions, we've done some recent research with McKinsey, and it shows a supply-demand gap over the course of the next 12 months. That's including everything we've gotten so far, of about 8 billion meals. So the need is still great. We continue to need help. We need it to be an all-in fight. We need Congress back at the table. We need them coming up with bipartisan legislation that's going to help people who are so vulnerable right now. I heard you earlier talking about the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. That's one of the things that actually should not be at all partisan. Everybody should agree upon because it's so helpful in so many ways. I get to be a part of a remarkable network, highly efficient, highly effective. But for every meal that we provide, SNAP can provide 9. And we also know that SNAP has a very stimulative effect on the economy. Looking back at the last Great Recession, we saw that for every dollar invested in SNAP, the return to the economy was $1.78. So it's a good answer for lots of reasons. People need it desperately right now. I hope that everybody's going to get back to the table and that they're going to prioritize the most vulnerable members of our society, because what we're seeing, and I get to get out there and witness it firsthand on the ground, there's a lot of devastation. You also talked about natural disasters. Imagine if we've got people already, over 35 million people who are food insecure, and on top of that, a health pandemic that's inordinately impacting them from a health perspective, a financial crisis that is inordinately impacting from a financial perspective as well.